Hello and welcome to the first of my Morrowind guides. Doing the melee guide first. So we're going to start off with the sort of the first paradigm, which is going to be the D&D fighter, Diablo 2 barbarian style melee character that's focusing solely on just doing as much damage as possible with whatever weapons we've chosen. So there's really three races you want to go with. Nord gives us immune to frost, immune to shock, Woad, which is a once a day ability that gives us an extra 30 armor class for 60 seconds, and Thunder Fist, which allows us to do frost damage, 25 points on touch. For our skill bonuses, we're getting plus 10 to axe and blunt, plus 5 to heavy armor and long blade, plus 10 to medium armor, and plus 5 to spear. So we've got a decent selection of weapons and sort of defensive armor that we can use right there. Next up is Orc. I don't recommend Orc. The Resist Magicka, 25%, is nice, but the Berserk skill, which is a once a day skill, whilst it does buff our health, fatigue and attack, drains our agility, which is going to make it easier for the enemies to hit us. It's also going to make it easier for them to knock us down. You do get some nice skill bonuses though, plus 10 to armourer, plus 5 to axe, plus 10 to block, plus 10 to heavy armour and plus 10 to medium armour. This is going to be a more difficult race to play as a melee character, even though it is focused on melee. You're just not going to have the benefits of playing a Nord or our final race option, the Red Guard. So pick a face I like. This is the one I'm going to go through for the rest of character creation. You get 75% resist common disease. You do get a lot of cure disease potions, and they're really cheap, and there's not that many enemies around there that have disease. You do get resist poison as well. A lot of the traps and a lot of the enemy damage in the game is poison. And you also get Adrenaline Rush, which is like the Orc's Berserk with no downside. You get 50 points of agility, 50 points of strength, 50 points of speed, 50 points of endurance, all of which are for great stats for a fight, as well as getting Fortify Health, 25 points, which is not only going to raise our maximum possible health for 60 seconds, but it's also going to immediately heal us by 25 points. For our skill bonuses, we've got bonuses in athletics, axe, blunt weapon, heavy armor, medium armor and short blade at 5 points, and most importantly, long blade at 15. Now there's only certain races that get plus 15 to a skill. They only get it to one skill. That's athletics and acrobatics for the Argonian and Khajiit, marksman for the Bosmer, and long blade for the Red Guard. So we're going to take this. We're going to be a master of the blade, and then we'll head on to the customs office.
I'm sure you'll fit right in. Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release.
Okay. So let's head on through and go talk to Scusius.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
So we're going to want to go fill out forms yourself, create custom class. So we're going to want our specialisation to be combat. For our favoured attributes, we're going to stick with strength and agility because I'm using Open Morrowind. If you're playing the base game and you're not running Open Morrowind, no, I'm getting this the wrong way round. Apologise. I'm going to go with strength and endurance because I'm running Open Morrowind. If you're running the base game, you're going to want to go with strength and agility. We'll cover this more when we get to star signs and I explain why. But the three main stats you're going to need to be having as high as possible throughout your play are strength, endurance and agility. So strength affects your starting health, how much you can carry, your maximum fatigue and how much damage you do in melee. Endurance affects your starting health, your health gained per level and your maximum fatigue. So the higher you have that endurance early on, the more HP you're going to get when you level and per level, so you can get that really big health pool in towards the end game. And if we just hover over agility here, affect your ability to dodge and hit targets in melee, as well as your maximum fatigue. So, obviously, all three of those skills attributes are extremely useful for a melee character. Which means we're also going to want skills that help improve those stats. So a block is a great one for building up agility, as long as you've got shield equipped and an enemy managed to roll a hit against you in the sort of background mechanics. You have a chance to put your shield in the way and completely negate all that melee damage. Next up, you're going to want an armor skill. I recommend heavy armor if you're doing an early playthrough. It's just going to give you a little bit more damage reduction than medium armor. And there's you can go through the Imperial Cult, the Imperial Legion questline and get some really good heavy armor items. You're going to get Imperial Steel just for completing the quests in Nesis, and then as you progress through the ranks and advance through the ranks of the Imperial Legion, you will get better and better heavy armor, eventually getting the Lord's Mail from the final part of the quest where you defeat the Duke in the arena. You can also loot the Mask of Clavicus Vial, which has got a really high armor rating and gives you a decent personality score to help you talk through various bits of plot and get better information out of people. It's also going to help your mercantile skills, so you'll get better prices at the various traders. Next up, we're going to want a weapon skill. So we're going to go with Longblade because we've got that plus 15. Obviously, if you're playing an Orc or a Nord, you're going to want to go with Axe, or in the case of the Nord, Blunt is also an option. And finally, we're going to take a magic skill, and that is Enchant. Now, the reason we want Enchant is this final sentence. Enchanted items burn less power for a trained user. So, the best way of boosting your damage is by having a cast when strikes damage on touch ability. So when you hit someone with your sword, you're not just doing the sword's damage, you're also doing some form of magical damage on top of that. A lot like how you would build a weapon in, say, Diablo 2 to have fire damage or cold damage or shock damage. Again, you get the same here. You also get the option of adding poison damage. This is a great way of boosting your damage both in the early game and in the late game. It also gives you various options early on for dealing with ghosts and scamps and other things that need magical damage or enchanted weapons to harm them. And for your final 6 skills, it really is pick what you want. Now, obviously, we're going to want to stick with athletics and armourer. Armour is going to help us boost our strength quickly by repairing our weapons and armour in dungeons with the various hammers and prongs that we find. We can also get hammers from the Fighters Guild. Simply join up and then you can raid all of the guild chests, guild supply chests throughout the 4 main Fighters Guild lodges in Vivec, Balmora, Alderaan and Wolverine Hall. Athletics is going to help us increase our speed, so we can get closer to the enemy, get into combat quicker, take less damage on the way in from spellcasters and archers. Block's also going to be boosting our agility, heavy armor is boosting our endurance, long blade is boosting our strength. So we've got all our 3 main stats covered there for increases. Medium armor does also increase your endurance. Axe, blunt also increase your strength. If you want to go down the spear route, you won't be able to use a shield as well, but it will help you boost your endurance rather than your strength. And if you want to go for that more short blade, which we'll cover in the next chapter of this video, that's going to help increase your speed with short blade. So acrobatics is another decent skill. It's going to help boost our strength quickly. You can simply go jumping around the place. It's also going to help us get access to certain areas of the map that we might not be able to otherwise, just by allowing us to jump that little bit higher. And for the final 3, you've got a variety of options. You can go into some spells. Mysticism's great for teleporting around the map. It's going to help us put souls in soul gems. Restoration or alchemy, I wouldn't take both, are great. They're going to give us the ability to fortify our stats, augment our fortify our stats, restore our stats, heal ourselves up. You do suffer the issue of, if you get a stat drained, like your intelligence, you're not going to be as good at casting the spell. You're also not going to have as big a magic pool if your intelligence is dropped. You're probably also going to want to look at a way of getting through locked doors, so security or alteration as a solid option. You might also want to look at a way of doing range damage yourself, so you can soften up the enemies as you close the distance. So destruction or marksman are great options. Mercantile and speechcraft. Again, mercantile is going to help you get better prices in the shops if you just want to rely on potions and scrolls for your stat buffs, stat restoration, healing, teleporting around the map, things like that. And speechcraft is going to give you the ability to taunt enemies into attacking you. This is great because you can just sit there, spam the taunt button until eventually they turn around and start hitting you, at which point anything you do to them is self-defense as far as the guards are concerned. Even though you sat there for 5, 10, 20 minutes taunting them, it's still their fault for attacking you. You can kill them, you don't get a bounty. This is a great way of completing assassination quests for the Fighters Guild, House Redoran, the Imperial Legion, or the Morag Tong if you want to do those quest lines. So I am definitely going to take Speechcraft, but I'm not going to take it as a major skill. What I will take is Security, and I'm probably going to build this character around simply, not Marksman, Mercantile, simply around not using magical spells and just working on using enchanted items, scrolls and potions.
Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
So, as I mentioned earlier, with the three stats you're looking at, strength, endurance and agility, there are really two options when it comes to your star sign. That's the Lady, which is going to buff your endurance by 25 points. Now, the reason I say not to take this in open Morrowind is that you won't get the extra HP when you level up from the endurance bonus from the Lady. It does, however, also give you plus 25 to personality, which is going to help with speechcraft and mercantile checks. It's going to make people more personable to you, so you'll be able to get better quest options, better rewards, better trading, all the rest of it. It's also going to make it easier to taunt people. And if you want to take the illusion spell group and be a little bit more stealthy and charm people and all the rest of it, that spell group runs off the personality stat. As I'm running open Morrowind, I'm going to take the Lover for this character. That's going to give us Fortified Agility, 25 points, to stack up with the Strength and Endurance we've taken as our favourite attributes. It's also going to give me the Lover's Kiss, paralysed at 60 seconds on target, damaging our own fatigue, 200 points for 1 second. This is a great equaliser against spellcasters, as it's a ranged effect, holds them in place. You've then got 60 seconds to drink a few fatigue restoration potions, get up and close and personal, and shiv them in the kidneys. Now, certain people will want to take the Steed, Fortify Attribute Speed, 25 points, just to let them close the distance that little bit quicker. I don't recommend this if you're starting out, because you're going to be taking a hit to either your endurance, so you're not going to have as many hit points, or you're going to be taking a hit to your agility, so you're not going to be as accurate in the fight. And some people do recommend the Warrior. Now, I have done a playthrough with the Warrior, and personally, I'd say don't go with it. Whilst it does help you in the early game with hitting enemies a little more frequently, towards the late game, once your agility's up, you're going to be hitting more frequently anyway. So the quicker you can get your agility up to that 100 mark and get it capped out, the sooner that fortified attack isn't really going to matter. So Let's take the lover. Click OK.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
So here we see from our stat screen, we're starting off with 60 health, which is a solid health pool. We've only got 30 magicka, but we're not really using, as I said, we're not using spells. The only magical ability we've got is enchant. And we've got 215 fatigue, which isn't great. You will get much higher later on in the game as you start getting up your willpower, your strength, your agility, your endurance, all the rest of it. Speaking of stats, we've got 60 in strength, so we're not far off that maximum 100 base. We've got 65 agility, and we can get that up to 125 because that is a fortify effect, which adds on to our primary stat. So we can get agility up to 100 plus the 25 from our star sign to get 125. It's going to make us really accurate in fights. We've got 60 endurance, which is translating to the 60 extra health. So we've got solid stats there. We've got some solid skills here. We've got 50 in long blade, which is the highest you can get at start character creation. We've got 40 in heavy armor. We've got 35 in block, so we've got a good chance of blocking. We've got 30 in enchant, so we're not bad at it. Not great, not bad. 30 in security, so a lot of the early sort of low level locks are going to be able to deal with quite happily. And then mercantile, speechcraft, acrobatics, athletics and armour are all in there, which are just going to work passively as we play through the game. So we're going to be jumping around a lot, we're going to be running around a lot, we're going to be repairing our armour with the free hammers we get from the Fighters Guild, we're going to be selling and trading a lot, so we're going to get mercantile up, and we're probably going to be taunting quite a few people, so we're going to get our speechcraft up. And under our miscellaneous skills we do have some 15s, so blunt armour, medium armour, blunt weapon and axe. We've got 10 in spear, 10 in short blade. So if we do want to transition over into another sort of melee style, we do have those options there. We just need to pop to a trainer and get the base level up to enough where we can use it. And there we go.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
We won't bother stealing the limeware platter for now. All I'm going to do is just get through the tutorial as quickly as possible and get outside. And we'll talk about some of the quest lines you may want to look at and some of the stuff you can get. So Morrowind GT's goodbye. Speedrunner tactics right there. So here we are outside. Now, main quest lines you're going to want to look at are going to be the Imperial Legion. This is a good starting place for your character, as you're going to get free heavy armor. Literally, every time you click on advancement and you advance within the Legion and gain a new rank, they will give you heavy armor, and this will progress right the way through. Eventually, once you've completed the quest line, you'll get the Lord's Plate, which is a great heavy armor option. Really high armor stats. It's got some nice enchantments on it. You're also going to be sent off to kill a necromancer up just south of Dagenfell, up around here-ish somewhere. I forget where exactly, but Dagenfell is up here, up amongst these islands. If you go just south of there to a Drummer Ruin, you'll kill an enemy as part of the quest, and on him he'll have the Mask of Clavicus file. Again, it's got a really high armor rating on it, and it fortifies your personality by 30 points. There are better helmets you can get in the game. If you go use a quest you can do around here, which give you a helm, a heavy armor helm that will buff your endurance and your agility. The main quest line, really great to progress, especially really great to progress because you can get the Fists of Randgulf, which is a pair of gauntlets, one of which gives you plus 10 agility as a constant effect, and the other one gives you plus 10 strength as a constant effect. Again, our main stats we're looking at are endurance, strength and agility. The Fighters Guild questline is great if you just want some gold, although you can later on as you progress get some glass armor and some medium armor if you want to sort of just sort of min-max your character, get a bit more agility by wearing that light armor. Certainly if you're not blocking that much because you're just killing everything too quickly. House Veteran tend to like people who are more combat focused, and you do have that option there. And with the Morag Tong questline, you're mostly going to be going out killing people. So again, being that more combat focused character, pardon me, sorry, that's my beer coming up. You're going to be able to get further through, get those people killed, get those writs handed in, and get a lot of rewards there. So that's it. We'll move on now to the next class. So the next class we want to talk about, or the next melee variant I want to talk about, is the sort of the nimble, assassiny, roguey style fighter. And there's really two races for this class, which is the Imperial, which is going to give us light armor along with long blade or blunt. It's also going to give us a couple of points in mercantile. It's going to give us the Star of the West, which is going to absorb enemy fatigue, which is going to help us keep our fatigue topped up. That is a once a day ability. And we've also got access to Voice of the Emperor, which is going to allow us to charm 25 to 50 points for 15 seconds on target. This is going to be great if we want to try and get extra information out of people, or if we want to get a better price at shops, which we're already going to be getting from a high mercantile skill. So let's go on to the Khajiit, which is the other option. Here our specials are Eye of Night, which is Night Eye, 50 points for 30 seconds on self. That's a spell with 0 cost, so it doesn't use any magicka, and we have a 100% chance to cast it. And we can just keep recasting it. It's not a once a day ability. Our once a day ability is Eye of Fear, which is Demoralised Humanoid with 100 points for 30 seconds on target. This is great for giving you some breathing room. You can just simply scare an enemy off and have them run away, deal with their mates, or take the time to heal up, repair your equipment, whatever. For our skill bonuses, we've got 15 in acrobatics, we've got 5 in athletics, hand-to-hand, light armor, security, short blade, and sneak. So if we want to do more the sort of the roguey, assassin-y style character who's breaking into places, picking locks, killing people, stealing from people, all the rest of it, this is a great option. I'm going to go with Imperial and try and find a pair at, so let's go with that, and yeah, that looks okay. Looks like that dude that's in his hair I wanted to change. It looks like it's a guy who's in a lot of the sort of sci-fi series like Stargate Atlantis, things like that. So I can get him some short black hair. There we go. So let's move on.
Great. I'm sure you'll fit right in. Follow me up to the office and they'll finish your release.
Okay, so let's go talk to Scusius again.
Ah, yes. We've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
So again, we're going to go fill out the forms ourselves. We're going to go with strength and endurance. We're going to stick with the specialisation of combat. We're going to keep with block. We're going to take long blade because that's what we've got a weapon bonus in. We're going to take light armour because that's what we've got a armour bonus in. And we're going to take enchant. Now, again, the next 6 skills you pick are entirely up to you. I'm going to go with Mercantile and Speechcraft because we get a bonus to them. And this time I want to go through more of a magical build. So we'll take Alteration for picking locks. We'll go with Alchemy. That's intelligence based. It's going to help get our and getting our intelligence up is going to give us more spell points to cast those higher level alteration spells. And it's also going to help with our enchant. And we've already got the sort of real benefit of illusion, which is the ability to charm people. So what we'll do is take mysticism. It's going to give us access to transportation spells, the ability to absorb people's health to not only do damage but heal ourselves. It's going to give us telekinesis and the ability to cast shields on ourselves. And for the final one, I could go with, let's see. Actually, I'm pretty happy with all those, so I'll take athletics to help get our speed up again. Speed is useful for closing the distance. So here we have a sort of a character more like the Witcher.
Good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
So again, we're going to go with the Lover. Although if you wanted to focus more on the spell casting side and you wanted more magicka, you could go with the Mage or the Apprentice. But we'll stick with the Lover because we're going to get that paralyzed for 60 seconds. It's fortifying agility, so that's going to make our ability to use our light armor efficiently a lot. I've completely lost my train of thought halfway through a sentence there. Anyway, it's going to allow us to use our light armor more efficiently to avoid damage. That's what I wanted to say.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
Okay. So again, we're starting off. We've got 50 in strength, 55 in agility, we've got 50 in endurance, and 50 in personality, which is going to mean a lot of people are going to like us straight off the bat. We've only got 50 health. And we don't really have a way of upping our medium or heavy our endurance, because we don't have medium armor, heavy armor, or spear as primary skills. But we can level them up at trainers each time before we rest to gain our level up. We've got long blade at 45, light armor and block at 35. So between those, we're going to be getting our agility up really quickly. Just going to make up for the fact that it's not quite as high as it would be for, say, a Redguard or a Nord. And we've got 20 athletics, 25 each in mercantile and speechcraft. So we're going to be able to make a lot of money and taunt people a lot easier in the early game. And we've also got our 3 spell groups: Alteration, Alchemy and Mysticism. So, let's move on.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
Okay.
Continue
And again,
to the next building.
we're not going to steal anything. We're just going to take the ring so we can get outside. And we can look at the map and I can talk through some of our options for quest lines.
You want something?
Now, with the way I've built this character, we actually have quite a few options in terms of quest line. So, bring up the map. Obviously, with Longblade, we're going Longblade block. We're going to add athletics. We're going to have options to do the Fighters Guild and House Redrun quest lines. With light armor, mercantile and speechcraft, we're going to have great options for the not the Fighters Guild, I've already talked about the Fighters Guild, the Thieves Guild, along with House Halalu. With our spells, we're going to have great options within the Mages Guild, House Telvanni, the Temple, and the Imperial Cult. Which again, is going to give us somewhat great options for quest lines there. There aren't really that many great enchanted items out there that we're going to want to use as a sort of a melee character, which does let us down slightly, but at the same time we've got a nice variety of skills here that we can use to just go around and just do the dungeons anyway, even if they're not part of a quest line. So anyway, moving on to the next and final type of melee character. So here we are with the Assassin. So again, I've covered the Assassin. It's now the Spellblade I'm on. With the Spellblade, again, there's 2 races you want to look at. There's the Argonian. It's going to give us resist disease, immunity to poison, water breathing as a spell. Again, 0 cost, 100% chance to cast. Just keep using it. Fantastic ability. Alchemy, 5 points, so we're going to be able to brew potions. Illusion to make us harder to hit, allow us to charm people. Mysticism, again, granting us that absorb health, the most powerful spell in the game, as well as the ability to teleport around and put monsters into soul gems for enchanting with, along with medium armor, athletics, and spear. Now, if you're going down this route, you don't want to take block, because you can't use block with a spear. All spears in Morrowind are two-handed. Our other option, and the option I'm going to go for here, is the Dark Elf. It's going to give us Ancestor Guardian. It's a 50-point Sanctuary spell that lasts for 60 seconds. This makes it harder for the enemies to hit us. As well as 75% resist fire. There's a lot of fire damage in the game. Really useful special ability right there. For our skill bonuses, we've got Athletics at 5, Destruction at 10, which is going to give us a way of damaging enemies as we close the distance. Light Armour of 5, Long Blade of 5, Marksman of 5 if you want to maybe transition into more of that Arcane Archer style play. Mysticism, again, great skill, and Short Blade of 10. So if we want to go with maybe more of a Nightbladey sort of build rather than a Spellblade or a Hexblade, we do have that option there. So let's make him look a little better. There we go, and find him a decent hairstyle. Well, he kind of looks like an early 2000s, early 2000s emo. So we'll stick with that.
Great.
He's got the fringe covering his
Follow
face.
me up to the office, and they'll finish your release.
And on to talk to Secutius one last time.
Ah, yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
So again, we're going to go with fill out forms yourself. We're going to take our specialisation as combat, because we are going to stick with block and long blade, and those are the main skills we're going to be wanting to use early on. We're going to take light armour, because that's the one we got a bonus in, and we are going to take enchant again to make better use out of those enchanted items. We're going to take strength and endurance as our favoured attributes, and then we're going to start looking at some spells. So again, I'm going to take alteration as a major skill. It's going to give us access to water walking, shields, levitating, all the rest of it. Mysticism, if I can find it, there we go. Destruction. I will take athletics, because we do have a racial bonus in it, and getting that speed up will again help us close the distance, help us get around quicker. Finally, take alchemy as a way of healing ourselves. This is going to help get our intelligence up, allow us to cast spells more frequently. And finally, what do I want? I suppose taking speechcraft is always useful. I've got athletics. What have I got? Yeah. So, conjuration is a good option. It's going to help boost our intelligence. It's going to allow us to summon weapons, summon Daedric weapons, more importantly, or Daedric and Undead Servant. It's a great way of getting yourself into endgame heavy armor that uses the light armor skill, because it summons Daedric armor, but the Daedric armor has 0 weight, so it uses the light armor skill. Again, we could go with marksman, we could go with short blade. Personally, I'm going to take acrobatics, just again to help us get our strength up nice and early.
Very good. The letter that preceded you mentioned you were born under a certain sign. And what would that be?
So, here again you've got a bunch of options. Now, the lover is a great one. Again, you've got that agility. You can focus on just being great in combat early on, but with our light armor and block skills, our agility is going to go up quite quickly anyway. You can take mage. It's going to give you an extra 50% magicka, but I'd recommend you take the apprentice instead if you want to go down the magicka route, which is what I'm going to do here. It's going to give you an extra 150% magicka, although it does give you a weakness to magicka of 50%. That doesn't include damaging spell types such as poison, fire, cold and shock. Now, drain attribute spells will get that bonus 50% damage to us. Drain attribute, drain stats, drain health, paralyze, all the rest of it will affect us more, but fire, cold, lightning and poison won't. So let's go with that.
Interesting. Now, before I stamp these papers, make sure this information is correct.
And we come up to the end screen here. So we've got that 50 points of strength. Again, solid option early on. We've got 50 speed, so we're going to be able to close the distance quickly anyway. We've got 50 endurance. Again, 50 health isn't bad to start off with. Obviously going full tank is better, but we do have that option. We've got 100 magicka, and we have Resist Fire, Elfborn, and Ancestor Guardian as our skills. Our spells, we've got a 5-point shield. Isn't amazing, but better than nothing. We've got Water Walking straight off the bat. So when we're island hopping up in the north around Dagon Fell, or up out in the east around Margan and Halar Ode, again we've got the option of just simply walking across and completely ignoring all the slaughterfish. And we have Firebite. 15 to 30 points of fire damage on touch. Great spell. Really useful. Okay, so.
Show your papers to the captain when you exit to get your release fee.
There we go.
Continue through to the next building and talk to Celestradus.
And as you can see, that 50 speed is really coming in much faster just walking out the door. Go to Morrowind, duties, goodbye. And let's talk again about guild and questline options. So with this build, we don't really have as many options as we did with the assassin playstyle. Obviously with the long blade and block, we've still got the option to progress well within the Fighters Guild, House Redoran. We do have options for House Flalu as well with light armor. And same with the Fighters Guild, sorry, not Fighters Guild, the Thieves Guild. I've made that same mistake twice now. But really, you're not going to get that far. Your other skills for those factions are going to be lacking. However, with the spells that we've got, with Mysticism, Destruction, Alteration, and with the Alchemy and Enchant skills as well, we are going to progress quite well within the Mages Guild and House Telvanni. So what I'd probably recommend is going for, say, the House Telvanni route for magic and the Fighters Guild for the melee combat side of things. We can also, because of those skills, progress well within either the Temple or the Imperial Cult, giving us some great options there for quest lines. We are going to be a little bit weaker in the early game, but once you get up to that mid game, we start getting our magicka points up. We start to get to the point where we're buying decent spells, more useful spells, more utility spells. We can heal ourselves more frequently. We've got our intelligence and willpower up. We'll start being able to just go through and just smash through all those various dungeons that we find wandering around that we'd maybe go into as part of one of the other quest lines, but get the loot that's in there. These are some great again, it's a nice well-rounded option. Personally, if you're fresh starting the game, I would recommend going with the Red Guard or Nord, and going with the heavy armor, going with the sword if you're the Red Guard, axe if you're the Nord, or blunt weapon if you're the Nord, and just going out there and just killing everything by stabbing it in the face. It is a really simple playstyle. You'll be really tanky, and you'll be able to just push through. You've got lots of great items in terms of enchanted items for loot. Is the best way. If you're looking for something a little bit more flexible and you're not worried about too much about the difficulty, or you're willing to go into the settings and just turn the difficulty right the way down, then the Assassin and Spellblade options are there for you as well. Anyway, thank you for watching. You know how YouTube works.